Alright, the banner has just dropped for the new Dokkan Fest Baby, so of course today we're going to go ahead right now and cover the banner as a whole and review what it has to offer. We'll talk of course about how good is the new Dokkan Fest Baby, but also we'll talk about what other characters can be found in the banner, how good are those other characters, what value can you get from them, and we'll also talk about in general how does the banner work so that by the end of the vid, you guys will be able to maximize the value from this banner in its entirety. Hope you guys enjoy the vid today. If you do, show your support down below and everything, comment down below your thoughts of course, but with that being said, let's go ahead and get straight into this. So first thing is first, it is important to note, this is your typical run-of-the-mill random Dokkan Fest banner. As you guys can see, after doing 2 multis, the third multi you do will guaranteed give you 1 featured SSR from the list of featured SSRs in this banner up to 7 rounds. So of course with that third multi, you'll be able to get any of the featured SSRs. That includes the side banner Trunks of course and the new Dokkan Fest Baby. Now there is no guarantee you will get those characters, but it does mean you have a chance to get them. So that is important to understand of course. And of course right here, the first rotation you do, the first 3 multis, each multi will give you summon points, which of course if you get enough summon points you can exchange them for a ticket, which can give, like, you can use the ticket to summon on the Dokkan Fest or the Carnival banner for a different character. So there is some value to that, but again, this is just like your typical random Dokkan Fest banner. If you've done any recent random Dokkan Fest banner in the past, such as for example the LR Gohan, Goten, and Trunks banner, you will know how those banners work, and it's the same thing as before. So nothing too crazy to be concerned over. It's just it's the same standard setup. Okay, now let's talk about what the banner has to offer for characters, right? So we'll talk about Baby specifically in just a sec, but when it comes to the overall list of featured SSRs, there are 10 SSRs over here. The first we see right here is the side banner Trunks, the new Dokkan Fest Baby, a recent addition in terms of the game and everything with the April Fool's Dokkan Fest Perfect Form Cell. Then we have Tech Buhan, Lord Slug, Namek Saga, Dirty Fireworks Vegeta, and Physical Super Saiyan Rose Goku Black. All 4 of these characters are from 2024 last year. Then we have 2023 with Android 21, Super 17, and then we have a very OG character with Tech Cell right here. So these are our 10 SSRs. Again, going back to this, on every third multi up to the 7 rounds and everything, the guaranteed feature, like the 1 featured SSR, that's from one of these 10 right here. So you have 1 out of 10 chance right here to get Baby, for example. You could get Cell, you could get Tech Cell right here, you could get Vegeta. There's no guarantee of which of the 10 you can pull, but Baby and Trunks and these newer characters, they are included in that option right there. So very important to kind of understand those nuances. Some people like to take advantage of that, so obviously that could be you right there. So good to understand that, of course. Anyways, let's real quick go over this list of characters, talk about how good they are and what value can you get from them, right? So starting off at the bottom here with Tech Cell. I will say right now, Tech Cell right here, provided you get the Super Easy A, probably is one of the best characters, and not even without a shadow of a doubt, he is one of the best characters you can get from this banner. If you have not gotten Tech Cell before, if you pull him from this banner, especially if you can get the Easy A and the Super Easy A done, which may be difficult, but if you can get both done, congratulations, because you have, in my opinion, one of the top 3 Super Easy A's in the game. I still need to do a Super Easy A tier list of my own, but this Cell is still very powerful with the Super Easy A, especially in a lot of teams. He has orb changing, crazy damage output potentially, crazy defensive capabilities. I mean, this Cell is amazing. So if you get him, if you have the Super Easy A done, he is definitely a great character to have. Now, unfortunately, alongside him, right next to him, is a character who is not that good. Super 17, and matter of fact, let's just go through the list. Super 17, Android 21, Physical Rose, like Namek Vegeta, Lord Slug, even Buhan, I would say overall. Overall, a lot of these characters, they just don't succeed nearly as much as you probably would want them to succeed. Now, specifically, Android 21 and Super 17 are nowhere near as good. Understand, they came out back in 2023. Basically, it's been about 2 years since their release dates, and of course, in that time, a lot of different metas have come to play, which means they have been phased out of the game in quite a long time. Now, the good thing about Super 17 in particular with him is technically Super 17 is a GT boss character, so if you're trying to build a GT bosses team, he could fit into that as your 6th option out of desperation. Hopefully that would not be the case, but if you do need a 6th option, he could work for that. All these characters, of course, they fit in a different category, so you could maximize them for certain category missions or certain like special events and everything. But yeah, I mean, specifically back to Super 17, like GT bosses is probably a nice area where like they can exist, but again, they're a kit from the very early part of 2023, so they are not really built to last at this point in time. Now, the good benefit of Super 17 and Android 21 is that while technically speaking these are the last 2 characters you would want to pull at this point in time, next year, after the 11th anniversary, right, these characters would be available for their EZAs officially. So technically speaking, even though these characters suck complete dog water right now, in about 3 to 4 months, the floodgates will open and 2023 characters will be allowed to EZA. So they could be on the block. They could be options for future EZAs like sometime soon. So they could see like upgrades and improved relevancy not too long from now. So that's something to look forward to, obviously down the line. But for right now, yeah, these two are definitely not it. Rose, I will say, Rose in and of himself, he is terrible. But if you happen to have the GDC banners done and everything, if you did GDC, if you got the new Rose Masu and everything, if you got a bunch of the Super Boss, Future Saga characters and everything, Rose can find some value. He can be good to decent, I would say, especially if you get dupes in him. But like in the grand scheme of things, this character, especially by himself, he is not that crazy good. Honestly, I like Rose is so cool to me, but this Rose, even like during 2024, like within his release and everything, not even that long after, this Rose was already suffering. Like he was already struggling in a lot of situations. So, you know, you can imagine now, like he is not that great on his own. Now with the new characters, that can help protect him a great deal, but still, yeah, like Rose has a lot of flaws. So do understand that, of course. Namek Vegeta, this is an interesting one because, you know, I've talked about it in recent vids. I hated this Namek campaign that was headlined by Vegeta. I just thought it was a waste of a bunch of good characters that should have been a lot better than they were. And, you know, Namek Vegeta is included in that. However, Namek Vegeta does have one particular pretty decent value in terms of like a niche kind of application, and that is Festival of Battles. Vegeta, being a character that he is an extreme AGL and he stacks attack, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it's stacking attack specifically, no defense, but still. Stacking is what allows Vegeta to be a usable option in Festival Battles. Now, would I say he's the ideal option? No, probably not, but you can make it work with Vegeta, and honestly, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, there's also a mission specific. I'll probably remember to put the mission up here on screen. There is a mission for Festival Battles, which I believe forces you to want to go after an extreme AGL character, and Vegeta happens to fit that specific kind of requirement. So Vegeta does have that niche like sort of value right there. If you're trying to do Festival Battles and use him there, he can work for that. But understand that is probably one of the best places right now that Vegeta can work. Other than that, there are a lot of other places where, like, yes, he fits onto a bunch of teams like Pure Saiyans and stuff, but he wouldn't be really ideal to run in a lot of circumstances. So yeah, one kind of like major niche application point, but besides that, I am not too happy to pull this character if I had an option to pick and choose who I'm getting from this banner as a whole. Now, the top 5, overall, I will say the top 5, like, you know, there's some like gems, of course, like these 3. These 2, I will say, when it comes to Slug and Buhan, both of them have some value. I still find them to be usable in certain things nowadays, but both can be susceptible to problems, especially depending on the teams you're running and what positions they're forced to operate in. With a lot of these bosses nowadays, they do sealing, stunning, they do locking and like character switching, nullifications, all this different like nonsense, right? All the different gimmicks can hurt Slug, it can hurt Buhan, and so yeah, I mean, both of these characters, I will say, I find them to still have some decent value here and there, but nothing too crazy to write home about. Lord Slug, one thing great about him specifically is technically he's a movie boss character, so he does fit under the LR Gold Gita team, so that's, you know, something of a benefit there. But at the same time, he himself is not going to be, you know, in the greatest position right now. Ideally, for him specifically, he wants a bunch of demonic power characters. There are a few that can work, but it's kind of hard to bring the team together, and so you can make things work. You know, you could try to throw in Glorio and stuff, but overall, like, Lord Slug, he's going through it right now. Like, it's been almost like, I think it's been about a year now since his release, give or take, so, you know, it's to be expected, but still tough for me. I do love Lord Slug personally. I still love using him. He's just not a character that's that great right now. Same thing can be said for Buhan. You know, he has certain teams he wants to work with, but overall, he can find himself getting hurt decently, like, awfully. Like, he can get hurt bad in certain fights because of how hard these bosses hit. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Now moving on to these 3 right here. Obviously, I already made a separate vid where I broke down the kits for the new characters, of course, but, you know, the Side Banner Trunks, I mean, this Side Banner Trunks is kind of crazy to me how good he kind of is for who he is, right? Like, I wouldn't expect Kid Trunks or like present version Trunks or whatever, like, you know, like possessed Trunks to be as good as what he is. He's a slot 1 character, he has guard and damage reduction, probably not the best defensive character by any stretch of the imagination right now, but he can be pretty usable, so that is something that's nice right there. And Baby, like, Baby is insane. Like, he has got a bunch of dodge, he's got a bunch of built-in crit chance. You know, like, this character can do some crazy work. And also he fits into GT bosses, which is led by GDC Omega Shenron, one of the best characters in the game, period. So like, this baby is like, he's amazing. He's absolutely amazing. If you guys have seen any of like the showcase vids from like the private server stuff, like from others, you will see Baby has a lot of crazy things that he can do. I'm sure a lot of you guys will probably have a chance to pull Baby, try him out for yourselves. But yeah, this character is really, really awesome. He fits onto he doesn't fit onto too many categories, but he still can be very valuable in all sorts of them, right? Because he is the new character, and he is, I would say, probably one of the top Dokkan Fest TURs of this year. Like, I don't know where specifically I would have him, but certainly at least top 5, if not maybe a bit higher. But okay, so we talked about him. Last one here is STR Perfect Form Cell. Now, this one is kind of interesting for me because during this character's release, I actually made a specific vid talking about how much I hated this character. Like, I hated the absolute hell out of him. However, I think now Cell is in a slightly, and I say slightly with a big emphasis on that, I think is in a slightly better position than he was on release. Because on release, the thing about Cell was at the time he was one of the few characters with the post 10th anniversary lead, and so you would try to run the double Cell, and double Cell is not where this character shines. However, now there's a bunch of new characters, a bunch of new teams that have been upgraded, reintroduced, all this sort of stuff. Cell now is in a position where you can try to get him, run a single copy of him, and he can do some pretty decent work. Now, again, I wouldn't say like, I mean, I would be hard-pressed to say that he's even in the top 5 TURs himself personally, but at the same time, like, he can still have a lot of value. He's still in nice categories like tournament participants and everything, so, you know, a character like him would be a very welcome pull, I'm sure, for all sorts of players. So, you know, definitely important to understand that. When it comes to the banner in terms of who to look out for, I will kind of say this in like a brief kind of fashion here. Tech Cell, definitely look out for him. Obviously, the new Baby, the new Trunks. I would say look out for the new Cell, or not the new Cell, but like the recently released STR Perfect Form Cell. And then the 5th character I kind of want to bring up here is named Vegeta. Even though I think Lord Slug overall may be a bit better, even though I think Buhan overall may be technically better, I would still say look out for Vegeta, because especially if you do not have him, he could be a pretty good option for, again, Festival of Battles, that one niche application, but still very impactful there. So, you know, we got to give credit where it's due. Like, Vegeta can't do too much, but what he can do, it's pretty helpful in that respect. So yeah, those 5 characters I would say definitely look out for. Again, you can pull the other characters, they can have some value for you. Android 21 and Super 17, they would be the worst to pull technically right now, but in the very near future, they could get their EZA, so that could be very helpful there as well. Okay, besides that, there is one other thing I wanted to cover, which is obviously how long this banner has to offer. Like, how long is this banner going to last? I kind of botched my sentence there. But this whole banner is going to be lasting for, at this point, another 24 days. Basically, almost the entirety of the month of October. We're probably going to be seeing a part 2 to this banner. But, I mean, we don't know exactly what that's going to be. Probably an LR of some kind, obviously. Maybe it could be LR Oob. I've seen some people say LR Oob is going to be our part 2 character, potentially. Maybe another GT character, for example. Maybe a new Super 17, for all we know. It could be all sorts of different things, so we'll have to kind of wait and see, but this banner is going to be here for a while. We do have some content on the way, of course, so we have opportunities for more Dragonstones to summon on it if we all wish and everything. But yeah, I mean, this banner, it has some value, I will say that, but overall, you know, at the same time, it's not the craziest banner overall. Like, Baby is great, Trunks is great, Tech Cell is great. Cell is, I think, decent to good, I will say that, and the name like Vegeta, he's just niche. But overall, this banner isn't the best in value, but there's like certain value you can get from certain characters if you know where to look, if you know how to apply it and everything. You can get something out of it. It's just kind of overall, it's not the craziest banner, I will say that. So I gotta be honest right there. The good thing is, thankfully, you know, with this banner, we can use tickets on it, so we can't see from this banner specifically, but we do get, you know, 14 tickets from the Dokkan Day stuff, and then also we should be getting another 7 tickets from the new stage of Seriously Serious. So that basically gives us 3 multis that we can do, like, or 7 like character ticket summons that we can do on this banner to hopefully get babies. So yeah, that's gonna be the hope, I'm sure, for a lot of people. Hopefully you guys will be able to use those tickets and take advantage of it and get the new character and everything. But yeah, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, you know, this is how the banner looks. It seems pretty straightforward. Again, typical random Dokkan Fest banner, so nothing too crazy in the grand scheme of things. Anyways, in which case, that's going to be where we wrap up the vid. Again, guys, you know, comment down below your thoughts. Let me know what you guys think about the banner itself and everything. If you guys enjoyed the vid, you know, show your support, subscribe to the channel, of course, drop a like, all that great stuff. But with that being said, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.